What up, and welcome back to another Malazan Book of the Fallen video. We made it. It's taken us 16 episodes, but we're at the end of Deadhouse Gates, so this is going to be chapters 23, 24, plus that juicy, chunky epilogue. Let's get into it. So again, we'll go through the chapter, and then I'll tell you when to jump out, and we'll spoil it up before we think about diving back into Memories of Ice here in the coming weeks. But chapter 23 opens up with Kalam, and he's scrapping more claw. He's on the run. He's hiding from some, and he comes across this little Malaz rat dog thing, and they're like face to face. He doesn't know if the rat dog is gonna attack him or just chill. Thing totally starts barking, sounds the alarm, so he's got to jump back down the balcony and scrap all these claw that were after him. Luckily, the thing does kind of partially make up for it by jumping out and straight up biting the face off the dude, saving Kalam's life right as he's about to get taken down. But eventually, this whole ring of claw closes in around him. They're like, "Bro, call off your dog." He's like, "Not my dog." So they're going to kill it, but he takes it, throws it back up on the balcony, and the frickin' thing is a little old lady's dog named Flower. She's like, "Come here, Flower, be a good girl." And the thing's down there totally eating faces. Who's a good boy? And then just as he's about to get totally taken down, Manala shows up with this horse out of nowhere and totally saves his drags him up to Mock's Hold, which is essentially the palace there on Malaz Island, and actually Laseen is there. She's not back at the capital supposedly in Unta, but it worked out perfect because she's right there, so he can just take her down right now. Then we jump to Fiddler and company, who land at the Deadhouse in Malaz City. They meet this Jagat who's in there, and he tells them that the Azath is pissed because they've been planning to take Icarium down for a long time. And again, he admits that this whole thing with Mappo's village and Icarium having taken it down was a total sham just to get Mappo to accept the job of being the guardian.
That's cold-blooded.
And the icing on the cake is that the dude telling him all this stuff is Icarium's dad, and he wanted Icarium stopped too, and that, ultimately Icarium is jacked because back in the day he tried to free Gothos by attacking the Azath and trying to get him out.
Daddy's no longer around, but danger still is.
And so that's why he's got, is so jacked up and has all these memory issues and is just otherwise broken. Apt and Panic show up outside the Deadhouse and kind of fill in Fiddler and company all about how Kalam is there and making his way up to Mock's Hold to take Laseen down. She obviously knows Kalam is coming because as him and Manala are making their way up the cliff face by horse, she basically beams him by Warren directly to where she's at. And then right before Kalam goes in to confront Laseen, Manala's like, "Yo, so what up? I came all this way." And Kalam's like, yeah, but I'm kind of a weirdo or something like that. And they kind of come to quick agreement that they're in love and down for the cause together, life partners, whatever. I don't know. Clear that, again, men, terrible communicators. Kalam continues that trend.
I like you a lot.
But then he goes into this throne room and confronts her, and she's like, "Yo, why are you here to kill me?" And he gives his reasons, right? He's like, "Dude, it's about Dujek. It's about, the bridge burners getting taken down. It's about you having a hand in trying to take out Desem. It's about you killing Kalenved and Dancer and usurping the throne." And she defends herself, right? She says that she never meant for the bridge burners to go down. She says that it was Tayshren's mismanagement with the old guard. She kind of spills the whole beans to Kalam about this Dujek outlawing thing being a sham to kind of allow Dujek to get into the good graces of Animander Rake and Kaladin Brood to be able to team up against this Panian Daman by kind of making Laseen this kind of common enemy, and so the enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of a thing.
There is no Carol in HR.
Kind of that whole thing basically that Diker worked out when the Tregild delivered that stuff to Coltane on behalf of Dujek, who wanted him to remain alive for the army, and that whole jar that he wanted Coltane to use to capture his soul, that whole thing. And we find out that Tayshren is with Dujek, like in disguise as his kind of shaved knuckle in the hole. She does admit to taking the throne from Kalenved and Dancer, but she kind of justifies it by saying, look, they were out dicking off. I was regent, and they're running around the Azath and doing all this stuff in the Warrens, and there was an empire to run. She also says she felt really bad about it and that she knows she's made a bunch of mistakes since then. She does make, like, no apologies for trying to take out Decem. She was like, look, we were rivals, and it would have caused a civil war because neither one of us was going to bow to each other. So I struck first, and, that is that, and just kind of lays all of her cards out on the table and is like, that's my, explanation. That's why I did what I did. Put yourself in my shoes, and if that's cool, great. Otherwise, kill me. Kind of a pretty ballsy move.
Damn, girl. You a badass.
But Kalam basically decides to just accept her story and leave her be. And I kind of want to pause there and just recognize how significant that is, right? Because, again, Laseen gets so much hate in this series, but here's a guy who, almost gets quote-unquote killed. He was one of the bridge burners that got, double-crossed at Pale. He's one of Dujek's soldiers who's now outlawed. He's somebody who was friends with Kalenved and Dancer and Decem, and for him, he was able to put himself in those shoes, and it was good enough for him, and I think that at least just speaks to, that's somebody who is one of these people that we care about, and one of the reasons why we don't like Laseen is for double-crossing people like Kalam, and here he is kind of accepting of her narrative, her version of events. But ultimately he says, look, we're done. I'm not going to come after you. You don't got to look over your shoulder, at least not from me. We find out that turns out she wasn't even there the whole time anyway. She has this whole dialogue with Topper, and they know that the Claw are going to be out there, but they know that Kalam's ultimately just going to take them down, which they think is a good thing because it's kind of a free way for them to just kind of cull all the weak Claw from their ranks. And 4 hands of the Claw do roll up on Kalam and Manala as they get out front, but Apt and Panic show up and just straight up wreck shop.
Break yourself, fool!
Fiddler and them are all there too with Apsalar and Crokus, and they all kind of get whisked away to the realm of Shadow where they meet with Shadow Throne himself. He basically says he wants to reward everyone for all their help, so he sends Apsalar and her dad and Crokus back home finally, where they've been trying to go this whole time. Fiddler asked to be able to enlist and go help fight the Seven Cities Rebellion with Tavore. And actually Shadow Throne has like a really touching quote about Fiddler and the troops of the Malazan army, which is dope, but he sends him basically off to do that down in Malaz City. Kalam asks for like a safe place for him and Manala to go rest and be man and wife and play house and do all of that stuff. Shadow Throne grants it, and he gives Apt and Panic as bodyguards and lets them live basically in the Shadow Realm. More than that, he gives them all of the kids that he ended up saving, the ones that Kalam, when he first saw Panic and said, man, I wish I could save all these kids. And then Apt kind of lobbied Shadow Throne to save the kids. They're now going to become kind of the custodians of all this couple thousand, I think it is, kids, and so they're just going to be one big happy shadowy family from here on out.
That's the way they all became the Brady Bunch.
Then we see Felisin get to Corbolo Dom and just, the trail of slaughter, that he's left in his wake, which is just disgusting. She talks about, regretting that initial scrap with her sister, which is really interesting, and how she was just a young kid and couldn't see past the hurt. And I think that's a big theme for her, where everything kind of spiraled from that hurt. And even though, she, there's this kind of objective part of her that was almost like an external part witnessing all of these events, knew that this wasn't the right way to go, the pushing people away, the closing off, the being angry, and projecting that outward. There was a huge internal part of her that either couldn't dig deep to make the change, or maybe she was powerless to stop, or just it was easier to just kind of go with it, even though internally and deep down she didn't really condone what she was doing. That just kind of ended up snowballing to that point where nothing mattered, and she was so filled with bitterness and anger at everything that had happened, which has been terrible, admittedly, and it's just really, really sad. But so now she has this kid who she names Felisin, and this kid is going to have that kind of childhood, abuse-free childhood that she should have had, that would have let her develop, into something that was so poetic, like her daughter, quote unquote, now is. Hiborik cries for her innocence, and she goes, you know what, Hiborik, don't even cry, because it's not even worth it. And that crushes him even more, that she doesn't even care that everything that has been lost.
I am not human, and I cannot feel pain.
They're all super horrified by Corbolo Dom's slaughter. And even though he admits to not taking Aaron and failing at that, he's it doesn't matter, because they don't have any able commanders left. All they have is these awesome soldiers who are so loyal that they'll follow orders, even orders telling them to essentially commit suicide. They have a new, commander coming in, but it's not going to matter anyway. Felisin knows that he's totally ignorant and talking out of his what, and makes them basically withdraw. Everybody rejoin their forces. While they're there, Hiborik can see that there's this one soul right at the very end of this road of crucified bodies that has no presence there, and kind of freaks out. We then see Tavore actually arrive in Aaron, and Ballistic goes up to meet her, and it's shaping up to just be straight up insane. But spoiler alert, you are not going to revisit this part of the series for another couple thousand pages, so this part goes on pause. But when we get there, it's gonna be lit.
Okay, what the hell?
Then we jump in with Mappo and Icarium, who get spit out of Tremorlor in basically right outside of Aaron. They come across Stormy, Gessler, and Truth. They're searching for somebody. Mappo doesn't know who it is. Truth is there with Bent and Roach, who are just absolutely destroyed by the battle outside of Aaron. We thought they were dead, but apparently they have just minimal scraps of life left, and Mappo uses the last of his healing elixirs that he's always had to hopefully heal them up. He gets filled in by Gessler on the chain of dogs and everything that happened there. Mappo wonders what he's going to do when Icarium wakes up, how they're going to answer this betrayal by the Nameless Ones. And yeah, pretty deep stuff. Ultimately, Gessler and Stormy and Truth don't find the body that they had been looking for. Then we get Iskar Pust meeting Magora for the first time, who's this spider Devers chick that he's been freaked out about the whole time, chasing spiders with the broom, and she knows what he's been up to, laying this false path of hands away from the real, gate of shadow. And he's like, yeah, so I'm not going to let you get it either. She doesn't even want it. They just basically wanted to holler at each other, and they walk off into the distance, basically arguing and insulting one another.
I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
We do see the giant undead Talon Iamas dragon there, who was guarding the real gate to Shadow the whole time. We also see these two little demons, Rud and Erp, who were sent by Baruch. They're there looking for somebody. They're looking for Diker. They find this body, but the body has only a name on a scrap of paper, basically, or parchment or whatever written on it. And it's not Diker's name. It's the name of the nameless Marine who is no longer now nameless, Salis, who gave it to Diker right before before he took off with the refugees and she went down. But his soul is in that little bottle that Quick Ben made for Coltane, and so they take that and Diker's body, presumably to restore him back to life. And then Icarium basically wakes up, and his whole saga just starts over. He asks them what he remembers. He remembers them chasing after this demon, and he goes, yep, that was what happened. You fell and hit your head, and this is just the very next day. And so all that time, weeks with Pust and Fiddler and going to Tremorlor and all of that, he just says, nope, that never happened. And so you can see how Icarium loses huge chunks of time, and it's just so sad that his whole thing just starts over. He's like on this continuous Groundhog's Day type loop. And then we get that epic epilogue where we see that these thousands and thousands of crows descend on this Wiccan pregnant woman and basically pass on Coltane's soul for a new baby Coltane to be born at some point down the road. So yeah, that's it. That's the end of Deadhouse Gates. We get a little glimmer of hope there in the epilogue, but this one was definitely bittersweet. Amazing journey. I loved the characters, Culp, rest in peace, Bowden, List, Lull, Coltane, obviously, and Bolt, and Diker. This was an amazing book, and I've enjoyed so much going through all these chapters with you all. I'm going to get into some spoilery stuff now, so thank you so much for watching. This next book, we've got 20% of the way through. 2 books down, 8 books to go, so we'll see you when we start up with Memories of Ice. Right now, we're going to get into some spoilers. So much to talk about, but I'll just throw out a few to get the conversation going here in the Discord or whatever. But who wants one of those Malazan ratters? I think what this means is that we're going to ultimately have to have a Malazan's Most Badass Dogs tournament. Let me know in the comments down below. Also, Gothos, right? Meet him for the first time. Legend. And again, just more with the Azath, right? Which I love digging in on the Azath because Gothos talks about how the Azath have been planning to take Icarium for a long time. So again, they're premeditating and acting deliberately, and they're either, at a minimum, implicitly on board with the Nameless One's plans, if not outright straight up guiding their actions. And so I think that the end of Deadhouse Gates, critical evidence for the Azath for anybody who wants to try and untangle that one a bit more. And also, I said this in the main video too, but again, I think we should give a lot of weight to Kalam's opinion of Laseen, right? As the readers, we give her a ton of blank, but at the same time, for Kalam, again, who is not only, is closer to all these people that we care about than we obviously ever could be, and it was good enough for him. I think that is a huge argument in favor of Laseen. Which you go watch my Laseen video, I'm already Team Laseen, big time. It obviously doesn't, excuse her actions with the Sem and Kalenvet and Dancer and all of that, but, for him, he was able to put himself in her shoes and see that it wasn't evil and, and that her intentions were pure-ish, I guess, but, it's also really interesting because here we have this really G'd up assassin, right, who just killed all these Claw and battled his way up, wounded, and controlled his blood flow and all of that, and yet he's putting himself in other people's shoes. He's, using empathy and compassion and putting himself in that position and thinking it through from their perspective. And I think that, again, it's great character work and a huge theme of the books. And I think maybe that's the reason why people don't like it. Let me know what you think down below. Is the reason why people, or maybe the more empathetic you are, then the more open you are to something like a Malazan. I talk about how, this is a series for people who want to live the story, not be told a story. I don't know if those are kind of the same thing. Curious to know what you think about that. Also, can I just say that something about the image of Apt, charging into battle with panic on her back, like riding her like a rodeo bull while they just wreck shop, is absolutely hilarious to me. I think that would make some awesome art. Any Malazan artists out there, hit that one up. That is a dope scene with Panic on Apt's back, taking down 4 hands of claw. Also, I love how, like, even this early on, you're seeing that, like, Felisin holds Tavore in awe militarily or whatever. Tavore is just a straight up G. Then we have Diker about to get resurrected, right? So if you look at my suggested reading order, I thought it might be easier for people who struggle with Gardens of the Moon to first go Memories of Ice, because you stay with those same characters, and then you could do Deadhouse Gates, but then you wouldn't be able to read the end of Memories of Ice and see this resurrected Diker, and then, it'd kind of be a huge spoiler when you read Deadhouse Gates. So I'm torn. I think it depends, and I could be convinced either way. Okay, and then last but not least, I would say that my theory on the whole Icarium getting delivered to Tremorlor by Shadow Throne and the whole false path of hands to give Tremorlor all these Devers and Soul Taken and Icarium is basically payment for past and future assists from the Azath, right? They helped him out, and I remember in a couple of videos back, I was talking about what was Shadow Throne's motivation, and I think it's to stay in the good graces of the Azath, who let him first get into the Deadhouse in the first place, which helped him to ascend, and then clearly they seem to be still making use of the Azath now. So I'll go ahead and leave the speculation and stuff there and just say thank you all so much for watching. We got 2 books down, 8 books to go. It's been so much fun. I'm so excited to get into Memories of Ice, but being in the Discord, I'm even more excited to be getting into Midnight Tides, the Bonehunters, Reaper's Gale, Toll the Hounds. Those are the ones I'm really excited to revisit, but there's just so much good stuff between here and there, and I've so enjoyed the journey. So if you have too, make sure to give the video a thumbs up, click that subscribe button, and turn on those notifications so that you don't miss the next 8 books that we're going to be covering coming up. We got a lot of fun tournaments and giveaways and other stuff coming down the pike as well. So you can buy some merch, you can join the Discord, you can join the Facebook, any of that stuff works. But more than anything else, enjoy these Malazan books, recommend them to friends, and until the next time, happy reading.